So, Mary, when did you start at Elfers or Locke Elementary?
July, actually July 1966, but I kept records for Mitt the year before while I was at home, but actually 1966.
So, while you've worked with her, what have been your different roles?
Oh, I was secretary, bookkeeper. I kept the lunchroom books. We didn't have any librarian, so I did library along with the teachers with their classes. Uh, we did any jobs we needed to do. If there needed to be a place filled in the lunchroom or a classroom or any place, we had to take care of it because that's all there was.
So, over the years, what type of responsibilities did staff members or teachers have?
Well, they had their classroom duties. They had bus duty. They had they ate with their kids in the cafeteria, and they did library duties because we didn't have anyone. They brought their classes in, and we did their movies and checked out their books and their plays and everything. They helped with PE. They helped with most anything that needed to be done.
Okay. So, over the years, what were the typical class sizes?
Well, they ranged from 30 to 50. The most I think I remember is about 52 in Mrs. Crawford's class before we ever went on double sessions.
And so that was 52 students with one teacher?
One teacher, wall-to-wall kids. They sat on anything they could sit on, chairs, floors, tables.
So, what memories do you have of the old building before we moved to Evans Avenue?
Oh, they had fun down there. They had their playground, the stage upstairs, the wooden floors, the small classrooms. Just an old-timey family school.
So, how many years was Mrs. Locke an educator, and then what schools did she serve at through her career that you know of?
Oh, she started in Zephyr Hills in 1928 after she was at school in Florida Southern. And then she, I think, taught there from 28 to 31. She came to Elfers for 32, 33. Then she went back over to Tucker Elementary, which is around Gower's Corner, from 33 to 36. And then in 36, she came back teaching at Elfers. And then in 37, she became principal, a teaching principal, till she retired in 1979.
So, what is your, do you have any fond or special memories regarding Mittye?
I don't know, she's my mother-in-law.
Do you have any that are school-related that you can think of?
She ran a tight ship. We had to work all together, and the PTA, her sister-in-law, Elizabeth Pierce, ran the lunchroom for years, and with Nellie Harper, and the school board would come here. We started back in 66 when the school board was in Dade City, when they were down in the basement of the old city hall. And they would come over and visit the schools. They would come into the lunchroom and sit and eat when they had their board meetings on this side of the county. And you could hear a pin drop.
Wow. So, how many students attended the school throughout the years?
A combination or at one time?
At one time. So, let's say back in the 60s, how many?
Back in the 60s, well, not in the 60s, it was more in the 70s that we got over 1,000, 1,100 and 1,200 kids before we went split school and double session. When we first started here in 66, Mittye Elementary and Elfers Elementary were the only two schools on this side of the county. We took from the river in Newport Richey down to the county line out through Odessa, and Richey took from the river to the north county line and out to past Shady Hills out there.
So, explain a little bit about double session. What does that mean?
We had so many kids you couldn't put them in the classrooms, so we went 2 sessions. We had half of them come in the morning and then overlap the teachers teaching to another set of teachers in the afternoon, and we went from about 7:30 in the morning, 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, till about 5:30 at night with 2 sessions of kids.
They've also talked about, for a time, we went to 45-15. Would you explain what that is?
We were on tracks of 45-15. They would be 45 days on and then a 15-day break. It was good for some and terrible for others. If you had different kids, you had a child in elementary, you had one in middle school, you had one in high school, you could have kids going year round all the time, but have one at home at times, because you'd have 3 tracks. They wouldn't be all on the same track.
So when we moved to the new location here on Evans Avenue, how did the move to the new school take place? Like, what made them decide to move locations?
Growth. That's when they started building the homes, and school became too small to handle the number of kids we had.
So how did the community react when you had to change locations?
They were supportive of a new building. They were proud of it. We had a PTA. If it hadn't been for a PTA while they were building this school, we wouldn't have had books in the media center, because when we came, we were a poor county then. If it hadn't been for our PTA saving up money, and we came over with $2,000 and stocked new library books in the library. They had bake sales, pie sales, fish fry, fundraisers to raise the money to have new. We didn't bring new furniture like you come in now to a new building. You walk in with all new furniture and equipment. We didn't have any of that back then. You brought what we had at the old school here and worked with it.
Now, you mentioned the fish fry. Looking back at a lot of articles, I see a lot about the fish fries. Could you talk a little bit about those?
Oh, they were nice times. They were family and community effort to come in. We had people come from all over the place just to have our fish fries. The fire department, they would come, and most of them were relatives of the kids that went here, and they cooked the fish and coffee, and Elizabeth at lunchroom made pies, cakes, baked beans, coleslaw, and we had volunteers. It just was a good community effort to have fun and get together.
So do you have any special stories or memories from the new location, the one where we're at now?
The growth of kids. And when we first moved here, we were surrounded by orange groves. We didn't have any houses around us. And we'd have to run off people who would come in while the kids were out on the playground to get bags of oranges off the trees around us. And just the building and the growth of kids. And most of our kids then were for the dairies and the migrant workers out from Odessa. We had kids coming in from all over the place. And we didn't have the facilities we have now. You didn't have nurses, and you didn't have clinics, and we fed them and took care of them while their families were working.
Okay, so is there anything unique, whether this campus or the other campus, that you can think of, that anything else additional that you want to add about?
Well, this was so much more modern than what we had at the old school. That was more spacious, spread out. Everything was new, painted, just nice and clean.
So how many years would you say, do you count as your time working with Mittye P. Locke Elementary?
47 years.
47 years.
Yeah. In my family, we've had 5 generations. Mitt went to school at Elfers. Her sister taught at Elfers, taught her. Her son Mike went to Elfers. My 2 kids went to Elfers. Kelly is a teacher here. And then my 2 grandkids went to Elfers here, and I have a great-grandchild going to Mittye P. Locke here.
So it's definitely your family school.
5 generations, yes.
All right. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.